I started married life in my early 20s as a senior student in Bible college and a youth minister. And in those days, back when we were using overhead transparencies and mimeograph machines, well, back in those days in the mid 70s, youth ministers didn't make very much money. Just unless you were in this big, huge, wealthy church, which I was not. And so for me and for Debbie, our financial objective was just be able to put gas in the car and food in the fridge. Just make the ends meet. Just get by. We didn't have any, had no savings account. I had zero ambition or interest in a retirement account. Number one, boy, there wasn't two nickels to rub together at the end of we got paid weekly. And boy, there were a lot of weeks when there just wasn't anything. So we didn't know how to make that all work. And nobody's to blame. It's just the way life was. Now, at this point in my life, I'm so grateful that not that many years ago, we started a retirement plan, a retirement fund, and it's very underfunded, but at least there's something there. If I'd started it in my 20s, I'd probably be doing this soul care from the deck of my boat, right? That's just how life works. And if you had the forethought and discipline to start early on a retirement plan, a continuing income plan, good on you. Wow. We're now we're in the full court press. We're trying to put as much in as we can and doing as much as we can to make provision. And the big deal is not so much so that we can play golf every day and take extravagant vacations. We just don't want to be a burden on our kids, right? So we're putting money into, and not big money, but we're putting money into a retirement account that doesn't just add dollar to dollar. I mean, that's kind of what our savings account is. I mean, the rate of return is so low that it almost doesn't exist, right? I'm not interested in trying to get a retirement off my savings account. All I want to do is take care of an emergency. You know, if the car goes down, we got something. Okay, it's kind of the Dave Ramsey approach. As a matter of fact, it's a lot the Dave Ramsey approach. So where I'm putting money, I want it to multiply. I don't want it to just add up. And the difference is money that multiplies grows a whole lot faster than money that just adds up. Why am I telling you this? Because I just need the catharsis of it? Or no, there's a better reason. Jude writes in verse 2, mercy, peace, and love be yours in abundance. King James Version says, mercy, peace, and love be multiplied to you. These things, there's just a powerful idea here that mercy, peace, and love, the three things that absolutely enrich anyone's life, would happen not on the addition basis, but on the multiplication basis. That they wouldn't just add goodness and virtue and joy to your life, but they would multiply it. Now, I'm going to take a risk because for some people, when I ask this question, it's going to produce shame. And other people, it's going to sound like a televangelist, but I'm going to ask a question anyway. Do you sense mercy, peace, and love multiplying in your life? And if you do, thank God and do what's next. It's a great place to be. And, a wise person is going to do anything within their power to keep living in that zone of mercy, peace, and love. If it's not there, then it's worth a look. It's worth asking, why is it not there? I'm going to try to be as realistic as I can be. I've told you on many occasions before, I am not a very optimistic person. I think of myself as realistic, but a lot of my friends think of me as pessimistic. I'm okay with that. One of the things I do know about life, and well, that's not the way for me to say it. One of the things that I have learned about my life is that not all of life is a trip to Disneyland. Not everything about life is going to be full of mercy and peace and love. I mean, there are seasons where everything's hard, where it seems like the universe has conspired against you, that God is, he's letting you try to figure this out. It's going to get worse before it gets better. I'm sorry if I sound discouraging and negative, but that's kind of how life goes. And if somebody's got to be blamed, I'm going to blame Adam and Eve. If they hadn't have eaten the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, if they'd have just stayed with the tree of life, I don't think we'd have that as an issue, but we do. And for some people, that just means life can be challenging, and I'm okay with that. For others, with my temperament, sometimes life can just be life-sucking. And it's hard. It's discouraging. It's sad. And I work with people who generally come into my office feeling those things. I don't blame them. And maybe one of the reasons that I can work with them is because I can empathize with them. I think I've been on that particular cruise myself. There's really a few reasons why we don't experience the abundance of, why we don't experience mercy, peace, and love, and why it is not multiplied to us. First one has to do with things fully out of our control. There are other people in our worlds, and sometimes their choices directly affect us, both good and bad. And bad choices tend to not bring good consequences. That's just, you reap what you sow. If you sow to the flesh, from the flesh, you reap death. But if you sow to the Spirit, from the Spirit, you reap eternal life. That's what Paul wrote. So there's just sin, and there are other people in the world. And sometimes we get the backwash of their bad choices and their sin. And that can be a reason why it doesn't seem like mercy, peace, and love are being multiplied to us. Second reason is, I am making bad choices. I am choosing behaviors and thoughts and reinforcing and rehearsing feelings that push away mercy, peace, and love. I'm reading a very interesting book that I feel good about, although I haven't finished it yet. I feel good about recommending. It's called Soundtracks by John Acuff. And what it is a very useful easy to understand application of what is often called cognitive therapy, where changing your thoughts can change your feelings and change your behaviors. In my opinion, it goes your thoughts change, your behaviors change, and then your feelings change. So anyway, he has some really good, I think, sound, psychologically, it's very sound from a counselor's perspective, terrifically sound input. And from an individual, me just as me, it's so easy to understand. It's not always easy to apply, but at least it's easy to understand that when you rehearse negative thoughts, when you rehearse how you've been hurt and who has hurt you, when you rehearse lies that you've been told since you were a child about yourself and about the world, as you rehearse them, they become the lenses through which you see reality. And when that happens, it is one of the consequences of that is that we do not experience peace, mercy, peace, and love in abundance. It is not multiplied to us. What we get is more of the same. There's a third reason that sometimes mercy, peace, and love is not multiplied to us, is because in the moment, God is at work to refine us. Not everything God does to refine you is going to be fun. God, in a sense, is a sculptor, and we are the stone. And for Michelangelo to produce David out of marble, have you ever tried to shape marble? It takes hard blows with a sharp object to make that happen. And that's us. Sometimes God uses hard blows with the sharp object of difficult circumstances to shape us. For what purpose? It's not punishment. It often is discipline, but it's not punishment. Paul writes about what would God's purpose be in this when he says, this is Romans 12, 1 and 2, do not be conformed to the likeness of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and then you'll know his good and perfect and pleasing will. And then he goes on to say, our transformation of mind is a process that God takes us through. And then in Romans 8, verse 28, probably you've heard it a bazillion times, for God is at work in everything for those who love him and are called according to his plan for their good. And then he goes on to say, for those he foreknew, he also predestined to become conformed to the likeness of his Son. That means to be shaped to the likeness of Jesus, so that we would look more and more like Jesus. Not physically, obviously, but in terms of our character, so that our nature will be shaped. Now, this is not the soft shaping of, a potter with the clay so much as it can be the sharp chisel and heavy hammer of the sculptor. God sometimes takes us through seasons where mercy, peace, and love we do not feel them being multiplied in us, so that he can shape our character. Because as he shapes our character, and when our character has been molded and chipped away, and less of the rock is there and more of the image of Jesus, we will experience mercy, peace, and love in abundance, that it will be ours and that it will be multiplied to us. So my application today is simple and not simple. Simple to say, if you are experiencing mercy, peace, and love in abundance, thank God. And I don't just mean going, hey, thank you, God, that's so nice. No, I mean, sit down and write him a letter and tell him how grateful you are for that, okay? If you're not, then think about why you're not. Is it something someone else has brought into your life? Is it something you have pulled into your life? And this is probably what is happening, even if somebody else brought it into your life, even if you brought it into your life, God is chipping away at the stone of your life to shape you into the image of Jesus. And how do you cooperate with that? That's a hard question, and I'm not going to answer it today. I'll see you next time on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.